be the front line. Barras makes it 10 times harder because now objectives is going to be a tough contest with the Daytona's welcome. For FCON's side, they just gotta make sure that C9 doesn't move too fast.
I worry about the crowd control from the side of Falcon Esports. Definitely has got quite a lot to work around. But ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna be finally jumping into the very first game of today. Day number 1 here in Stream B. It's Cloud9 versus Falcon Esports.
Yeah, I think right off the bat, we're seeing that Cold War is going to get some info on where Dax is, forces out the red tree at the purple buff. That is kind of the protocol, what you want to look at, but I also like that Kid X is trying to get priority for PX7. As an Arlet at level 1, you have incredible base damage with your Vengeance, and you just want to give as much pressure to the enemy mid laner as you possibly can, but Cloud9 able to stem the early aggression and keep this mid lane under control.
So coming into looking at lane priorities all across the board, right? We're definitely gonna be expecting quite a bit of movements in the middle lane with a dual setup from the middle lane. We've got the Valentina definitely always have got great priority over many other mages out there, but having an Arlet that's just constantly in the middle lane definitely poses quite a bit of threat for the Valentina before he can just start roaming around again.
Yeah, and I want to quickly point out something, right? I talked about Benny being one of the few Moscow players who just goes Inspire. Look at him. He has Inspire as his battle spell, and he did try to go for the Inspire cheese at level 1, where you just try to win the lane by man-fighting your opponent. Unfortunately, basic is not affected, so Benny, you just have to take it as it is. I can't push him out of the lane, so I'll just have to play it normally as I possibly can. All things considered, so far, whatever we've expected from both teams is true, but with Dax being found out, that means that Cloud9 have sufficient info. Falcons, they're waiting for PX7 and Royal Milk to hit level 4, and then it's about the turtle contest.
With the Aurora already heading into the top lane, they want to assist as much as possible. But Cloud9, they have jumped themselves onto Kid X and showed themselves in the middle lane, allowing Falcon Esports to actually take the priority off of the Lord. But we are expecting a 4 versus 5 fight as Royal Milk immediately jumped right in with the Earth Shatter, followed by a flicker as the turtle will be taken by the hands of Boba Zane. They have came here for what they wanted, and Kid X is going to be falling down as the first blood. Falcon Esports, they are losing 3 men right off the bat. Cloud9 looks at this game smiling.
Yeah, this is the worst possible opening. I mean, PX7 keeps his passive, I believe, loses the flicker, all battle spells used by the side of Falcon Esports. That turtle fight really felt like it shouldn't have gone that way. I think Falcons, you just need to give it up. Kid X is not, has already lost his flicker. You realize that Mark QT stole the Primal Wrap.
Finally, when it comes down to Falcon, they have Benny, right? So if you want to go for a couple of split pushes here and there, or you're trying to clear up the waves, I don't think that they might have that big of a problem. So Cloud9 getting themselves the early start and having the great aggression in the early game, I think that this pretty much paves the way for their entire strategy.
I mean, you're looking at a 2k gold advantage for Cloud9 just off of that first interaction, right, at the turtle fight. So that's something that I think is not too big of a lead just yet, but definitely something that Cloud9 is going to feel happy about because all your core targets, all your core members got the kill. Mobazin got 1, Milo got 1, Mark QT got 1, and he's also sporting the MSC2024 edition Valentina skins, which I absolutely adore. But you look at this fight, I feel like Cloud9, they want more.
Yep, as Dex was hoping that he'll be able to run away, but unfortunately the final slash is just going to be connecting on Dex. But immediately after that, the Praetor's Wrath connects. He gets his HP back a little bit, but it's not going to help too much. As Cloud9 with the guiding win, Cold World managed to bring Mobazane right out of the team fight, and they're going to be pretty much safe and sound with only a 1-for-1 trade.
Not enough damage from Falcons for the second time, and that one is a lot more apparent. Dax survived for long enough, lands a treatment, Appraiser's Wrath, gives his life away, only to not have Falcons get anything in return. I believe they only took down Basic.
Got Basic though.
That's okay, but in the grand scheme of things, Cloud9, they're fine with it, right? The kill from Basic went over to Kid X, which you would have loved it if it went to anyone else. Even Milo is a full level ahead of Royal Milk. Second turtle is up.
As we have the turtle currently going down, Dax is going to be the one that claims the credit for that. And for now, Falcon Esports, I'm pretty sure that they're going to be responding in kind. As they're just going to be focusing down on Marcuti, but Mobazane goes right in with a quick little ultimate. Unfortunately, Dax is going to be caught up in the middle of all of that. As thus, he's going to go down together with Kid X, and Cloud9 secures 2 kills and a free orange buff.
Turtle taken by Falcons, but for the third time in a row, not enough damage. Dax didn't even get to use his ultimate. That fight because he was gobbled up by Mielo right before that. And that puts Mobile Zane 2 levels ahead of Dax. A tragedy for the Fredrin. This is the exact situation you don't want to be in as a Fredrin into a lineup with, Carry and Alpha. If you can't survive in a fight, you are basically ineffective. Not to mention that Mielo has been keeping his gears locked onto this Fredrin.
Especially since Fredrin really plays around with HP. You really want to bring yourself down low enough to get a lot of that grey health in order to unleash that one big Appraiser's Wrath. But as we talked about it before, right? We're looking at the carry and the alpha. It's not something that this Fredrin will have all the time in the world to just bump up in the amount of HP that he have and really just play possum. He gotta have to react fast enough and really try to go for it. In fact, you see, Dax was really holding off on his Appraiser's Wrath, and only at the final seconds he tried to put it out, but a little bit too late.
See, they want to find the jungle again.
Yep, it doesn't seem like things are going to be looking very well for Falcon Esports as the Deadlands welcome just going to be connected down onto Dax, dying down once again, 4th time in a row. We did have the final slash that did connect onto Mobile Zane though, but it's not going to be that big of a difference.
I don't think there's enough damage from Falcons. In fact, Mobile Zane, if he wants to turn, he can.
Ouch.
Even use the conceal. Unfortunately, Kid X gets swiped to the grave. Cloud9 pumping up the tempo. This is Falcons Esports' worst nightmare.
It doesn't seem like things are going to be great at all. Cloud9 with currently with 8 kills and Falcon Esports with only 1. And they're now even going to be focusing the bottom lane. But Benny turned things around a tad little bit. He did manage to bring the Mathilda down, but unfortunately the main guy, Basic, is still alive.
Best case scenario, I suppose. You could have asked for a better trade, at least as a 1-for-1. Would have loved to take down Basic, but Falcons arriving at the third turtle.
Without the Moskov coming in, Dax still somehow did manage to take the turtle away from Cloud9. Mobile Zane definitely not happy about that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, Dax, as much as the game is still going horribly for him, he's won 2 Red Tree fights under level compared when he went up against Mobile Zane. So that's something good for FCon, right? They are almost close to the 3,000 deficit mark, but all things considered, this is still recoverable for Falcons Esports. They've managed to stem the bleeding a little bit, only losing the bottom tier 1, all things considered, and Royal Milk just broke the top tier 1 of Cloud9. And that means Falcons, they've gotten some space for themselves, and this is beneficial, especially when you want Benny to sustain.
They're really definitely gonna have to bide their time and find the right opportunity to really just jump right in for an all-out team fight. But we gotta have to look out for the main playmakers of Falcon Esports. Is Benny really available, and is Benny really ready for those kind of fights? And in the meantime, PX7 as well. He's currently been stuck in the middle lane for quite a tad bit and unable to really come in for being very pivotal in fights. We don't really quite see that much of an impact, unfortunately. For now, we're just going to be looking at the middle lane. His HP is not looking good. PX7, not looking good. Recalling, and as for the side of Cloud9, I think that they're more or less ready to try to bring down this facility defense turret.
Yeah, PX7 lost the flicker, has no more passive to work with, but Falcons arrived just in time to defend this tier 1. Both sides did trade their final side lane tier 1, so far, state of the game, even Falcons Esports not letting Cloud9 get too far.
The side lane game is done. And everyone is probably going to double dip themselves into the middle lane to try to bring down the first defense turret. This is a game of river control. Whoever's able to bring down the first defense turret here is ultimately going to get a big boost in commanding the opponent's jungle.
We talk about the setup that Falcons Esports have with this Arlet, right? That's something that Cloud9 would need to be constantly reminding themselves of. Glowing Wana purchased by PX7, that's going to severely impede Cold War's effectiveness with the Matilda. We'll see if this Lord fight is going to turn out in their way.
With the Lord currently being pulled out, Falcon Esports itself, Cloud9 understands that it is very scary. This Lord is very daunting, and holding on to the Lord for as period of time is not going to be good, as the final slash is going to be connecting down on the 2. He wants to get himself in the heart of the battle, as now they're just going to be focusing on the Kid X. He went in a little bit too deep, and unfortunately, Falcon Esports wasn't able to help him too much. With Royal Milk coming in on the second part of the fight, he's going to be whittled down to the all-time low too. And Cloud9 succeeded in this fight against Falcon Esports without losing a single one.
I don't think Falcons can even attempt to steal this Dax. He might just have to give himself away. He might even
I'm
go
surprised
down.
that they even tried to try to challenge for this, as the rest of Cloud9 focuses onto Dax, brings him down immediately while Mobile Zane stayed behind to bring the Lord down.
I think Falcons, they gotta start cleaning up their communications a little bit. Kid X got sold out by his team. He got an incredible engage, and all he needed was PX7 and Royal Milk to press their buttons at the exact same time. But you saw the delay follow-up from Royal Milk's onwards basically allow Cloud9 to have time to react to that engage, and the rest was history. Benny, he wanted to put out damage, but the synchronization just prevented that from happening to FCon. So the synergy from Falcons, they gotta clean it up, because Kid X, he's been getting some good sets, but his teammates isn't pulling their weight.
So they always have got the great initiation, but when it comes down to following up, it's not quite that. Despite having a lineup that has a lot of crowd control coming in from the Edith, and even the Fredrin himself. And perhaps we are even taking a look at PX7. In fact, every single one of them have got a crowd control of their own, as long as they manage to get the communications up and running. So Husky pretty much got the nail in the head, right? We need the communications coming from the side of Falcon Esports to be a lot more precise, and they gotta have to call out each of these shots and all of these skill shots.
Yeah. Luckily, they still defend all their inhibitors. That's the least silver lining. 6k gold behind Cloud9 at this point in time. We know for a fact that Benny, he's gonna have damage for sure. He's been able to farm up a storm this entire game, and he is going to be the linchpin of FCon as this game progresses, right? We're gonna head into that late game pretty soon, but again, it comes down to whether Falcons can get that perfect set, give Benny the space to dish out the damage. Kid X and Royal Milk, you gotta start working on the synergy a little bit, because Kid X, he's been doing his job, but the rest of the team, they gotta be able to follow up. They recognize that Dax is not easy for Dax to survive in a face of basic Mobile Zane and Mielo, but they have an idea on how to pull it off, and it's now a matter of executing.
I think that right now, even if Dax has been constantly sacrificing himself for the greater good of FCon, I think that FCon gotta have to look at another way of playing. Like, even if Dax is gonna go down, they gotta have to trade it out one way or another. Because Benny, yes, he's been farming quite a bit, but perhaps he just don't have enough of those items to really execute anyone in Cloud9 just yet. And we are coming into 12 minutes of the game. I believe that once we hit about 15 minutes of the game where Dax is able to contest for Lord when both junglers are level 15, that is probably gonna be FCon's game.
Yeah. And something that I think Cloud9, RQT has been doing well as well is that multiple choices of ultimates, right? It's either I steal the Final Slash, Primal Wrath, or even I steal Aura's ultimate if FCon wants to run at me. Because Cloud9, they have the priority looking for another fight.
Yep. It does seem Cole trying to go for the Circling Eagle, working with Milo for that guiding win. Unfortunately, it's not exactly what they wanted. Milo got stopped halfway through and wasn't able to follow Coldwell all the way through. So, missed out the initiation, but that's fine. It was not that much of a committal Circling Eagle from the side of Matilda. So that's gonna be fine and dandy for now.
Best case scenario, well, he did hit someone with the second half of Circling Eagle, right? So the cooldown reduction did apply for Cold World. Side lanes in favor of Falcons, especially top part. FCon has set up the top lane, so this is definitely a lore that they can try and juggle, but Cloud9, they have a lot of damage to run through it if they want to. We'll see if FCon can manage to find the cash. Royal Milk and Kid X on different sides of the pit.
Still trying to contest for this. Falcon Esports, they are going and raring to go. As the Danos Welcome just going to be connecting down on the Fredrin. Dax still manages to take the Lord for himself. Cloud9 now just going to be going on for an aggressive front. They want to bring Dax down as much as possible. But he just immediately jumps himself forward, but wasn't able to do quite much. As Benny, he brings himself and jumps back. And he's going to be safe and sound now. Royal Milk and Dax may have went down, but they have the Lord.
Oh my goodness. Dax, despite under level, constantly 2 levels behind Mobile Zane, has won 3 consecutive red tree fight. And Cloud9, they had the right idea, right? Like Mielo, he gobbled up Dax, they control him, and somehow he got the Lord for his team. Saving grace for Falcons. Sure, they might not be able to make a lot out of this, but at least Falcons have found a lifeline in this game. They only have 3 kills overall, but who cares? Benny, he's coming online.
Dax really have got his eye on the prize. Constantly winning in all these challenges. In fact, I wouldn't have thought that Dax would be able to win. Like, how in the world did that even happen? Probably Royal Milk jumping all the way into the four man probably bought them a lot of time and probably just made Cloud9 just tunnel vision onto Royal Milk as much as possible. So every single one of these deaths definitely contributed to the cause of Falcon Esports wanting to get themselves the Lord. They did manage to bring the inhibitor turret in the top lane down to half health. That gives Falcon Esports so much more room to breathe.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly talk about the deficit in terms of gold. Majority of Cloud9's gold lead actually comes from the jungle gap, right? Mobazin has like what, a 5k gold advantage over Dax. That's pretty much it. Everyone else is on this almost the same level in terms of net worth. So that means that Cloud9's net worth can be considered as inflated. They want to look for Dax.
They're all just going to be jumping onto Dax once again. They are not going to be stopping until Dax is finally dead. But Cloud9 realizes that all of their skill shots is just not connecting and immediately retreated out of that.
Yeah. I think Cloud9 needs to start understanding that only Mobazin has an advantage in terms of net worth, and that is not going to matter as much at this point of the time. Everyone else on Falcons, they are keeping up. So this total kill is a bit deceptive for those who don't look at the individual net worth, which means look at Falcons Esports. They're starting to take up more space. They're starting to get a lot more confident, and that means that Cloud9, one mistake could lose them game number
6,000 gold lead definitely looks a lot, but how Falcon Esports is playing doesn't feel like they are playing from behind of 6,000. Cloud9, on the other hand, though, it seems like they are definitely trying to be as aggressive as they can, but in the meantime, they gotta have to show as much respect as they can to Falcon Esports, because we have mentioned before, Falcon Esports lineup is chock full of crowd control. The moment that they position themselves wrongly, that is probably going to be a game for Falcon Esports to immediately turn around on.
Yeah, it's all about looking for Benny. If they can catch Benny and take him down, then Falcons just runs out of steam in an instant. Malefic Raw just got purchased, I believe, by the Smoskov, so he's basically decked out. Even went for extra attack speed on the boot, so Benny is all about damage. Royal Milk out of position.
And does seem like he's not gonna be caught out just yet. And such, Circling Eagle is gonna be taken away. Cloud9 probably don't have a lot of utility or any skills to really catch up to Benny, which might actually be one of the main problems that Cloud9 might experience in the later parts of the team fight. The Kid X did manage to connect onto the final slash, but it's pretty much just gonna be a little bit of harassment as Benny focuses himself onto Coldwell. Exactly what I'm talking about. No one is there to really deal with Benny as such. He's just gonna be jumping in, and he's gonna be focusing on the Mobazin next. Mobazin immediately goes right in with his ultimate and tries to go for a kill, but unfortunately, he's gonna be taken down. Benny picks up a double. Well, basically just gonna be continuing on to go on for a rampage. But now Benny is focusing on to kills after kills after kills, picking himself with a triple. He might want to go for Milo, but he flickers himself away. He just
oh my goodness!
Hoping to do something to Benny, wasn't able to at all.
MSC tried to save his team, but Benny is just too strong. They should be able to defend this inhibitor, I think. Maybe Benny would just power through it. It seems like MSC keeps the structure alive. Lord, I believe, was taken by the side of Falcons in that chaos.
Again!
So Cloud9, they have essentially lost whatever lead they've gotten. We talked about the only net worth advantage that they have was from Mobazin. Look at this fight, right? Royal Milk goes and engage. He sacrifices his life to get Mobazin, but Benny uncontested the entire fight. Basically, he was put so far behind by Kid X, and when he rejoins the fight, Benny, he just loses out on the one timing, the Winds of Nature being used by Benny afterwards to survive that one-on-one, and Falcons have completely recovered from that early game. This right now is Cloud9's turns to experience a nightmare.
Sheer discipline from the side of Falcon Esports, having the priority over the Lord and being able to just burst down the Lord with that tiny bit of health is definitely possible. However, they dragged it on a little bit longer than expected, and they forced Mobazin to go into a very unexpected position as he just jumps right in with his ultimate, hoping that he will be able to go in for the last hit with the retribution. But with that all said and done, Falcon Esports did not touch the Lord at all. As such, they did manage to force Mobazin in a bad position, bring him down, then subsequently get the Lord for themselves and clean things up.
Yeah, Falcons Esports in the driver's seat right now. Cloud9 wants to look for more. They did find Royal Milk with the help of the Daytona's welcome, I believe. But either way, net worth don't matter at this point. We've reached critical mass. We've reached the late game for both teams, and right now Falcons, they just gotta wait for Royal Milk to come back, but C9 doesn't want to wait.
Focus on Benny. That is probably gonna be the game plan for Cloud9 at this point in time. Does Mobazin want to reserve his ultimate just for Benny, or do we want to see the Circling Eagle being reserved for Benny at all? Because with the great amount of mobility that Benny has in his kit, I think that Cloud9 will definitely have a lot of troubles just reaching out.
I think Falcons, FCon have also figured out that no Daytona's welcome means Cloud9 loses basically their only guaranteed crowd control, right? Their only suppression of a sort. So Mielo misses that ult. Falcons, there's so much space for Dax and Kid to navigate around, and even Royal Milk. And again, Benny, if he's untouched, then Cloud9 is gonna have, it's gonna prepare for a world of hurt. And Basic, he experienced it in that third Lord fight where he walked a bit too far forward. Kid basically displaces him. So that is something that Basic also needs to take into account for next Lord spawning on the top side.
Even though we have the inhibitor turret at the top and the middle lane taken down from the side of Cloud9, this doesn't immediately say that this doesn't immediately say that Cloud9 is out of the game just yet. In the meantime, Dena's welcome, connecting down onto Royal Milk. He's still gonna be alive though. He does an immortality, flickers himself right out of that, and all things said and done, Falcon Esports didn't lose anyone but immortality.
Yep. Both actually laners lost the immortality, but Falcons Esports gains priority off the Lord pick because top wave was pushing in. So Basic needs to deal with that. But Lord is pretty strong. Falcons Esports is going to bum rush through it. Not a problem. Lord number 4 for the Myanmar representatives. And this could be the death sentence for Cloud9 if Falcons, they just need one last push. And only one inhibitor stands for Cloud9.
We mentioned this in the early stage of the game where Cloud9 doesn't exactly have very good wave clear as compared to Falcon Esports. Falcon Esports is a lineup that can really play from behind very effectively, especially since we're looking at a Moskov versus a carry kind of situation. Sure, you might be able to burst down the Lord pretty effectively for this out of Cloud9, but when it comes down to the rest of the wave that's just going to be marching in, you may have a lot of problems essentially dealing with that. As such, the Lord marches in, ready to pillage everything that Cloud9 holds dear. The Deadlands welcome still going to be connecting it, slams Kidax into PX9, PX7, but it doesn't seem like it's going to do much as Falcon Esports focuses onto the throne and the core gets destroyed. Falcon Esports takes game number 1 away from Cloud9.
Yeah, crystal shattered. Falcons Esports manages a incredible recovery off of the efforts of everyone.